The message came at 2:37 in the morning. Ethan Caldwell wasn't supposed to see it, but the screen lit up in the darkness, casting a pale glow across the bedroom, just long enough for him to read the words that would quietly destroy everything he thought he knew about his marriage. "I miss you already. Tonight wasn't enough." And the name above it? Ryan. Seattle never really slept, but inside the Caldwell apartment, silence had become something heavier than noise. Ethan Caldwell stood by the kitchen window, watching rain slide down the glass in uneven trails. It was just past 6 in the evening, the sky already dimmed into that familiar gray that seemed permanent in this city. His laptop sat open on the counter, lines of unfinished code blinking back at him, waiting. He didn't move. The front door clicked open behind him. "Hey," Lily's voice floated in, light, effortless, almost musical. "You're home early?" Ethan turned slightly, forcing a small smile, wrapped up a sprint ahead of schedule. Lily stepped in, heels tapping softly against the hardwood floor. She looked immaculate, as always. Tailored blazer, subtle makeup, hair falling perfectly over one shoulder. But something about her presence felt distant. Not new, just more noticeable now. "You didn't text," she said, slipping off her coat. "I would have picked up dinner. I thought we could cook," Ethan replied. "Like we used to." A pause. It was brief, barely a second, but Ethan felt it. Lily smiled again, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I already ate. Late meeting." "Again?" She shrugged, walking past him toward the bedroom. "Marketing never sleeps, remember?" Ethan watched her go, the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. It was unfamiliar, or maybe he just hadn't noticed before. Dinner became a quiet, solitary affair. Ethan reheated leftovers, the hum of the microwave filling the empty space. From the bedroom, he could hear Lily's voice, soft, hushed, punctuated by the occasional laugh. He frowned slightly. When she returned, she was scrolling through her phone, thumb moving quickly across the screen. "Who was that?" Ethan asked casually. "Work," Lily replied without looking up. "What project?" She hesitated. Just long enough. "New client onboarding," she said. "You wouldn't know them." Ethan nodded slowly. "Right." Another silence stretched between them. It hadn't always been like this. There was a time when conversations flowed effortlessly, when laughter filled the apartment, when Lily would curl up next to him on the couch and talk about her day in vivid detail. Now, everything felt filtered, edited. Later that night, Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Beside him, Lily's breathing was steady, her back turned toward him. He remembered the early years, the small apartment they could barely afford, the takeout dinners, the late-night dreams about the future. They had built everything together, or at least he thought they had. A faint vibration broke the silence. Ethan turned his head. Lily's phone lit up on the nightstand. He wasn't trying to look, he told himself that. But his eyes caught the screen anyway. Ryan. The name lingered there for a moment before the screen dimmed again. Ethan's chest tightened. "Who's Ryan?" he asked quietly. Lily stirred slightly, then sighed as if annoyed at being woken. "A colleague," she murmured. "I told you." "At 2 in the morning?" "It's a different time zone," she said, her tone sharper now. "God, Ethan, not everything is suspicious." "I didn't say it was." "You didn't have to." She turned over, finally facing him. Her eyes were open now, Clear, steady, but edged with something defensive. "He's just a friend," she said firmly. The words hung in the air. Simple, clean, convincing. And yet, Ethan felt something shift inside him. Not a break, not yet. Just a crack. "Okay," he said after a moment. Lily studied him for a second longer, then rolled back over, pulling the blanket slightly tighter around herself. "Go to sleep," she muttered. Ethan didn't respond. He lay there, staring into the darkness, the name echoing quietly in his mind. Ryan. Just a friend. But for the first time, Ethan realized something he couldn't unsee. Lily hadn't actually looked at him when she said it. The next morning arrived like nothing had changed. Sunlight filtered weakly through the gray Seattle clouds, casting a muted glow across the apartment. Lily moved through the kitchen with practiced ease, coffee brewing, toast crisping, her phone resting face down on the counter. Ethan watched her from across the room. If someone had walked in at that moment, they would have seen a normal couple, a quiet breakfast, a routine morning, the kind of ordinary peace people envied. But Ethan noticed the details. He always had. "You're up early?" Lily said, taking a sip of her coffee. Her tone was light, almost casual. "Couldn't sleep," Ethan replied. "Work?" He hesitated. "Something like that." She nodded, not pressing further. That, too, was new. There was a time when Lily would have asked more, would have cared enough to notice the weight behind his words. Now she seemed content with surface-level answers. Or maybe she preferred them that way. The name stayed with him. Ryan. It echoed in the quiet moments, between lines of code, in the hum of traffic during his commute, in the sterile brightness of his office downtown. Ethan wasn't the type to jump to conclusions. His mind was built for logic, for patterns, for evidence. But that was the problem. Patterns were forming, and they didn't make sense. Lily's schedule had changed. Meetings that ran late into the evening, weekend networking events that she never used to attend, calls she took in another room, her voice lowered just enough to be indistinct. Individually, they meant nothing. Together, they told a story. 3 days later, Ethan decided to test something. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even confrontational. Just a question. They were sitting on the couch, a show playing in the background neither of them was really watching. Lily was scrolling through her phone again, her attention drifting elsewhere. "Hey," Ethan said, keeping his tone neutral. "You mentioned Ryan works in a different time zone, right?" Lily didn't look up. "Yeah. Which one?" A pause. It was subtle, but it was there. "East Coast," she said finally. Ethan nodded slowly. "New York?" "Mm-hmm." He studied her for a moment. "Funny," he said. "I thought you said Chicago the other night." That got her attention. Lily's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Did I?" "Yeah." Another pause, this one longer. Then she laughed, a short, dismissive sound. "Ethan, I talk to a lot of people for work. Excuse me if I don't keep a detailed log of every conversation I've ever had." "I'm not asking for a log," he said calmly. "Just clarity." Her expression shifted, defensive, sharp. "Well, I'm sorry if my job is too complicated for you to follow," she shot back. "Not all of us sit behind a screen all day writing code." The words landed harder than they should have. Ethan blinked. "That's not what I—" "No, but that's what it sounds like," Lily cut in. She set her phone down now, fully engaged. "You're interrogating me over a coworker's location. Do you hear how that sounds? Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. I'm not interrogating you. Really, she said, her voice rising slightly. Because it feels like you are. Silence stretched between them. The TV flickered in the background, forgotten. I just asked a question, Ethan said finally, his voice quieter now. And I answered it, Lily replied. What more do you want? The truth. The word hung there, heavy, unavoidable. For a split second, something flickered across Lily's face. Then it was gone, replaced by something colder. You think I'm lying? She asked. I think, Ethan hesitated, choosing his words carefully. I think something doesn't add up. Lily let out a slow breath, shaking her head. This is unbelievable. What is? You, she said, her tone dropping into something almost pitying. This whole thing you're doing, it's paranoid, Ethan. I'm not paranoid. Then what is it? She challenged. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like insecurity. The word hit differently, sharper, more personal. Ethan frowned. Insecurity? Yes, Lily said, leaning back against the couch, crossing her arms. You've been distant for months, buried in work, barely present. And now suddenly you care about who I talk to? That's not fair. No, what's not fair is being accused of something I didn't do, she snapped. I have a career, Ethan. I have colleagues. I have a life outside this apartment. I never said you didn't, but you're implying something, she pressed. Say it. Ethan held her gaze. I think there's more going on than you're telling me. The room seemed to still. Lily stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed again. But this time, there was no humor in it. Wow. What? You really believe that? She said softly. Don't you? Ethan didn't answer. He didn't need to. Lily stood up abruptly, grabbing her phone. I'm not doing this, she said. I'm not going to sit here and defend myself over your imagination. It's not imagination. It is, she cut him off. And honestly, it's exhausting. She started toward the bedroom, then stopped, turning back to face him. If you have trust issues, Ethan, that's something you need to work on, she said. Don't project them onto me. The words were precise, calculated, each one landing exactly where it would hurt the most. Ethan felt it, the shift, the subtle twist of reality. For a moment, just a moment, he questioned himself. Maybe she was right. Maybe he was overthinking. Maybe all of this was nothing. The bedroom door closed with a soft click. Ethan sat there, unmoving. The silence returned, but it felt different now. Heavier, darker. He replayed the conversation in his mind, line by line, searching for something, anything that would anchor him back to certainty. Instead, all he found were cracks, inconsistencies, doubt. Not just about Lily, but about himself. Later that night, as Lily slept beside him, Ethan stared at the ceiling once again. Her words echoed in his mind. Insecurity, paranoid, your imagination. He turned his head slightly, looking at her. She looked peaceful, untouched, as if nothing had happened, as if everything was normal. Ethan swallowed hard, because deep down, he knew something wasn't right. He just didn't know yet how far the truth actually went. It started with a message Ethan wasn't meant to see. Not a confession, not even anything explicit. Just a notification that lit up Lily's phone as she stepped into the shower, steam already fogging the bathroom mirror. Tonight, Same place. Don't be late. No name, just a number. But Ethan didn't need a name anymore. His chest tightened, not with shock this time, but with something colder, quieter. A slow, creeping certainty that settled deep in his bones. He stood there for a long moment, staring at the screen until it went dark again. Then he placed the phone back exactly where it had been, and said nothing. All day the message followed him. Through meetings, through lines of code he rewrote 3 times without realizing, through conversations he barely registered. Tonight, same place. It wasn't the words, it was the implication. Routine, familiarity, history. This wasn't new. Whatever Lily was involved in, it had been happening long before Ethan ever started asking questions. By the time evening came, the city was wrapped in its usual drizzle, the streets reflecting neon lights in fractured streaks of color. Ethan sat in his car across the street from their apartment building, engine off, hands resting on the steering wheel. He told himself he could still walk away. He told himself that if he left now, if he went home, pretended none of this existed, maybe things could stay intact just a little longer. But another part of him, the part that had been quietly breaking over the past few weeks, refused to look away anymore. At 6:42, Lily stepped out of the building. She looked different. Not like she was going to a late meeting. Her dress was darker, more fitted, her makeup slightly bolder than usual. Her hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, catching the dim streetlight. Ethan felt something twist inside him. She hadn't dressed like that for him in a long time. She didn't call a rideshare, didn't hesitate. She walked straight to the corner where a black sedan was already waiting. The passenger door opened before she even reached it. Ethan's grip tightened on the wheel. A silhouette moved inside the car. Just a glimpse. Male. Lily slipped in without looking around. The door closed. The car pulled away. Ethan followed. Not too close, not too far. Just enough to keep them in sight as they moved through downtown Seattle, past glowing office towers and crowded intersections, deeper into a part of the city where everything looked more expensive, more private. The car eventually slowed, turning into the circular driveway of a luxury hotel, the kind Ethan had only ever seen in magazines or corporate events. Valet attendants moved with quiet efficiency. Glass doors opened automatically, revealing a lobby bathed in warm golden light. The car stopped. Ethan parked across the street, his pulse pounding in his ears. He watched. The passenger door opened again. Lily stepped out. And then him. Ryan. Ethan knew immediately. There was no introduction needed, no confirmation. The way Ryan moved toward her, the way Lily looked at him, it wasn't professional, it wasn't friendly, it was familiar, intimate. Ryan said something Ethan couldn't hear. Lily laughed, not the polite laugh she used with colleagues, not the distant, distracted smile she gave Ethan these days. This was different, soft, real, the kind of laugh she used to reserve for him. Ethan's vision blurred for a second, not from tears, from something sharper, something that felt like the ground beneath him shifting, cracking, giving way. Still, he didn't move, not yet. Because a small, desperate part of him still clung to denial. Maybe this was a misunderstanding. Maybe. Ryan's hand slid to the small of Lily's back, guiding her closer. Too close, and she didn't pull away. That was the moment. The exact moment something inside Ethan finally broke. clean, irreversible. He got out of the car. He didn't remember deciding to, didn't remember crossing the street, didn't remember pushing through the glass doors into the hotel lobby. All he knew was that suddenly he was there, standing just a few feet away, watching them. They hadn't noticed him yet. Ryan leaned in slightly, saying something low. Lily tilted her head, smiling. And then she reached up, her fingers brushing lightly against his jaw. A gesture so natural, so practiced, like it belonged there, like she had done it 100 times before. Lily. Her name left Ethan's mouth before he could stop it. Not loud, not angry, just there. But it cut through everything. She froze. Ryan turned, and in that single moment, when Lily's eyes met Ethan's, everything changed. Shock hit first. Pure, unfiltered. Her face drained of color, her body going completely still. Ethan. The word barely formed. Ryan looked between them, confusion flashing across his face. What's going on? Ethan didn't take his eyes off Lily. You tell me, he said quietly. The silence that followed was suffocating, heavy, unavoidable. Lily pulled her hand away from Ryan as if burned. This isn't, she started, her voice unsteady. It's not what it looks like. Ethan let out a hollow laugh. Really? Her breathing quickened. I can explain. Then do it. Ryan stepped back slightly now, his expression shifting as realization began to settle in. Lily? He said slowly. She ignored him. Her entire focus was on Ethan. This is just, she faltered, searching for something, anything. We were meeting about work. Ethan glanced at Ryan, then back at her. At a hotel? It's not. At night? He pressed. Her composure cracked further. You're overreacting, she said, the words coming faster now, more desperate. This is exactly what I meant. You're twisting things. I saw you, Ethan cut in. His voice was still calm, but there was something underneath it now. Something final. Willie stopped. The denial, the deflection, it all collapsed in that instant. Because she saw it in his eyes. He knew. Not suspected, not guessed. Knew. The silence stretched, and for the first time, Lily didn't have anything left to say. Ryan exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. Okay, I think I should go. Don't, Lily said quickly, but he was already stepping back. This isn't my problem, he muttered. You said he didn't know. Ethan's gaze flickered to him. A small detail, but it landed like a blade. You said he didn't know. Ryan turned and walked away without another word. Just like that. Leaving Lily standing there, alone, exposed. Ethan looked at her. Really looked at her. And for the first time in years, he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. How long? He asked. The question was simple, but it carried everything. Lily swallowed, her lips parted, closed. Then, finally, it's not what you think. Ethan shook his head slowly. No, he said. It's exactly what I think. And in that moment, the last illusion he had left shattered completely. The lobby felt too bright, too clean, too indifferent. Ethan stood there, the polished marble floors reflecting everything too clearly. His rigid posture, Lily's pale face, the space between them that suddenly felt impossible to cross. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The world moved around them. Guests checking in, quiet conversations, the soft hum of background music. but it all felt distant, like it belonged to another reality. Ethan finally broke the silence. "Say it." His voice was low, controlled, but there was no softness left in it. Lily flinched, barely, but enough. "I already told you." "No," Ethan cut in. "Not another excuse, not another story." He took a step closer. "Say the truth." Her breathing grew uneven. For a split second, Ethan saw it, the panic beneath her composure. The instinct to deny, to deflect, to reshape reality into something survivable. But there was nowhere left to hide. Not here, not now. She stopped, looked away, then back at him, and something shifted. Not into remorse, not into guilt, into something colder. "Fine," Lily said quietly. The word landed heavier than any denial she had thrown at him before. Ethan didn't move, didn't speak. He just watched her, waiting. Her shoulders straightened slightly, as if she had made a decision. "Yes," she said. One word. Flat, unapologetic. "I'm seeing him." The air between them seemed to collapse. Ethan felt it. Not like an explosion, but like a slow implosion, everything folding inward, compressing until there was nothing left but pressure. "How long?" he asked again. This time his voice was even quieter. Lily hesitated, then exhaled. "A few months." Ethan's jaw tightened. "A few months," he repeated. Like if he said it out loud, it might start to make sense. It didn't. "And all this time," he continued, his gaze locked onto hers, "you just came home like nothing was happening?" Lily shrugged, actually shrugged. "It's not that simple." Ethan blinked. "Then explain it to me," he said, "because from where I'm standing it looks pretty simple." Another pause. Then, "I didn't plan it," she said. "It just happened." Ethan let out a quiet, humorless laugh. "Of course it did." He turned away for a second, running a hand through his hair, trying, failing, to steady himself. When he looked back at her, there was something different in his eyes now. Not confusion, not even disbelief, just clarity. "And the lying?" he asked. "The late nights? The messages?" Lily's expression hardened. "What did you expect me to do?" she shot back. "Tell you?" "Yes." The answer came instantly, without hesitation. "Yes," Ethan repeated. "That's exactly what I expected." She stared at him. And then she laughed. Not nervously, not apologetically, just laughed. "You're serious?" she said. "You really think this is that black and white?" Ethan frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," Lily said, her voice sharpening, "that things haven't been working between us for a long time. That doesn't justify." "I'm not trying to justify anything," she cut in. "I'm explaining." "No," Ethan said slowly. "You're deflecting." Her eyes flashed. "There you go again," she snapped, "twisting everything into something it's not." "I caught you in a hotel with another man, Lily." "And?" she challenged. The word hit like a slap. Ethan froze. "And?" he repeated. She stepped closer now, her gaze unwavering. "And what are you going to do about it?" she asked. There was something new in her tone. Not fear, not shame. Challenge. Ethan stared at her, searching her face for something, anything, that resembled the woman he used to know. He found nothing. Do you even hear yourself right now? He asked quietly.
Do you? She shot back. Because you're acting like this is some kind of betrayal out of nowhere.
It is a betrayal.
No, Lily said, shaking her head. It's a consequence.
The word hung in the air. Cold, deliberate. Ethan felt it sink in slowly. Of what? He asked. Of this, she said, gesturing vaguely between them. Of us. Of the way things have been. Ethan let out a slow breath. So instead of talking to me, he said, instead of trying to fix anything, you just replaced me? I didn't replace you. Then what is this? Another pause, and then, it's something I needed, she said. The honesty in that statement was more brutal than any lie. Ethan swallowed hard. And I wasn't enough. It wasn't a question. Lily didn't answer right away, but she didn't deny it either. Silence stretched between them, heavy, unforgiving. Finally, Ethan spoke again. We can still fix this. The words surprised even him, but they were real, raw, coming from the last part of him that still held on to something worth saving. Lily's expression shifted slightly, not softened, just altered. You're serious, she said. I'm your husband, Ethan replied. I'm not walking away without trying. For a brief moment, something flickered in her eyes. Uncertainty, maybe even hesitation. But it disappeared just as quickly as it came. You don't get it, she said. Then help me understand. Lily shook her head slowly. No, she said. You don't get it because you don't want to. Ethan frowned. I'm not going to stop seeing him. The words landed harder than anything else she had said. Not because of what they meant, but because of how easily she said them. Ethan went still. Say that again? I'm not going to stop, Lily repeated. No hesitation, no emotion, just fact. Something inside Ethan shifted. Not breaking this time, not shattering, just changing. You're choosing him, he said. I'm choosing myself, she corrected. At the cost of everything we built? Lily met his gaze, unflinching. Maybe it wasn't worth as much as you think. That was the moment. The exact moment Ethan realized. This wasn't a mistake she regretted. This was a decision she stood by. He nodded slowly. Once, twice, as if accepting something inevitable. You know what I think? Lily continued, her voice quieter now, but sharper. I think you're not going anywhere. Ethan's eyes narrowed slightly. What does that mean? It means, she said, stepping even closer, lowering her voice. You're too comfortable, too safe. He didn't respond. You won't leave, she went on. You'll be angry, hurt, maybe even humiliated. A faint, almost mocking smile touched her lips. But at the end of the day, she tilted her head slightly. You'll stay. The words echoed in Ethan's mind. Not because they were loud, but because of how certain she sounded. You really believe that, he said. I know you, Lily replied. Ethan held her gaze for a long moment. Long enough for something unspoken to pass between them. Something final. Maybe you don't, he said quietly. Lily didn't respond. She just watched him. Still confident, still certain, still convinced she had control. Ethan took a step back, then another. The distance between them widening once again. Go home, he said. His voice was calm, steady, different. I'll be there later. Lily studied him for a moment, as if trying to read something beneath the surface. But whatever she was looking for, she didn't find it. Fine, she said finally. And just like that, She turned and walked away. Ethan stood there long after she was gone. The lobby still bright, still indifferent, still unchanged. But something inside him had finally completely shifted. The apartment felt unfamiliar when Ethan walked in that night. Not because anything had changed physically. Everything was exactly where it had always been. The couch, the framed photos, the faint scent of Lily's perfume still lingering in the air. But the meaning of it all had shifted, irreversibly. Lily was already home. She sat at the kitchen counter, a glass of wine in her hand, scrolling through her phone as if nothing significant had happened just hours earlier. As if their marriage hadn't just cracked open in the lobby of a luxury hotel. "You're late," she said, without looking up. Ethan closed the door behind him. The soft click echoed louder than it should have. "I needed time," he replied. "To process?" she asked, her tone neutral. "To think." That got her attention. Lily set her phone down slowly and turned toward him. For the first time that night, she actually studied his face. "You look calm," she said. "I am." It wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. Something inside Ethan had settled, not into peace, but into clarity. He walked past her, placing his keys on the counter, then turned to face her fully. "We need to talk," he said. Lily let out a quiet breath, almost like she was bracing herself, but not out of fear, out of impatience. "I think we've done enough talking for one day." "Not about this," Ethan said. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Then what?" Ethan hesitated for a fraction of a second. Not because he didn't know what to say, but because once he said it, there would be no taking it back. "I'm giving you a choice." The words landed between them, clear, deliberate. Lily blinked. "A choice?" "Yes." Ethan held her gaze. Him or this marriage? Silence. Not the heavy, suffocating kind from before. This one was sharper, focused, like the edge of something about to cut. Lily leaned back slightly, studying him. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious." She tilted her head as if trying to understand something that didn't quite make sense to her. "And if I choose this?" she asked. "Then it ends," Ethan said. "Completely. No more lies. No more contact with him. We rebuild, honestly." "And if I don't?" Ethan didn't hesitate. "Then we're done." The words hung in the air. Final. Unavoidable. For a moment, Lily said nothing. She just looked at him. Really looked at him. As if seeing him differently for the first time. "And you think it's that simple?" she asked quietly. "No," Ethan said. "I think it's the only thing left." Another pause. Longer this time. Lily picked up her glass of wine, swirling it slightly as she considered his words. Ethan watched her, every second stretching longer than the last. This was it, the last chance. Not just for her, but for everything they had built together. "Okay," Lily said finally. Ethan's chest tightened. "Okay," he repeated. She nodded slowly. "I'll end it." Relief didn't come. Not immediately. Instead, there was something more cautious, fragile, like stepping onto ice that might still crack beneath him. "You're sure?" he asked. Lily met his gaze. "Yes." Ethan studied her face, searching for hesitation, for doubt, for anything that might tell him this wasn't real. But her expression was steady, convincing. "Then call him," Ethan said. Lily blinked. "Now?" "Yes, now." A flicker of irritation crossed her face. "Ethan." If it's over, it shouldn't be hard, he said. The tension returned instantly, sharp, unforgiving. Lily held his gaze for a long moment. Then she sighed. Fine. She picked up her phone, unlocked it, scrolled. Every movement deliberate, measured. Ethan watched her thumb hover over the screen for just a second too long. Then she pressed call. It rang once, twice. Then, "Hey," a male voice answered. Ryan. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He just listened. "Hey," Lily said, her voice softer now. Different. "I can't do this anymore." A pause. Ethan couldn't hear Ryan's response, but he could imagine it. "It's just complicated," Lily continued. "I need to focus on my marriage." Another pause, then, "No, don't call me," she said quickly. "It's better this way." Ethan watched her carefully, every word, every inflection. "Goodbye, Ryan." She ended the call. Silence filled the apartment once again. "There," Lily said, placing her phone down. "It's done." Ethan exhaled slowly. A weight lifted. But not entirely. "Thank you," he said quietly. Lily nodded, picking up her wine again. "Don't make me regret it." That night, they slept in the same bed, closer than they had in weeks. But something still felt off. Ethan lay awake long after Lily's breathing had evened out. His eyes fixed on the ceiling, his mind replaying everything. The hotel, the confession, the call. It should have felt like a resolution, a turning point, a chance to rebuild. But deep down, something didn't sit right. 3 days later, Ethan found out why. It wasn't dramatic, no confrontation, no obvious mistake, just a detail. Small, almost insignificant. Lily's phone buzzed while she was in the shower. Ethan glanced at it without thinking. A message from an unknown number. "Miss you already. Same time tomorrow?" Ethan stared at the screen, the words sinking in slowly. Not shock. Not this time. Just confirmation. The call. The promise. The choice. It had all been a performance, and suddenly, everything became clear. Lily hadn't chosen the marriage. She had chosen to keep both. Ethan placed the phone back exactly where it had been, just like before. But this time, something inside him didn't crack, didn't break. It hardened. Completely. Ethan didn't confront her. Not this time. The message, "Miss you already, same time tomorrow," lingered in his mind like a quiet echo. But outwardly, nothing changed. He placed Lily's phone back on the counter with the same precision as before, as if even the smallest disturbance might reveal that he knew. But inside, everything had shifted. The anger was still there. The hurt hadn't disappeared, but they no longer controlled him. Instead, something colder took their place, something sharper. Clarity. Over the next few days, Ethan watched. Not obsessively, not desperately, but carefully. He noticed how Lily moved through their shared space now, confident, almost relaxed. The tension that had briefly surfaced after the confrontation was gone, replaced by a subtle ease. She thought she had handled it, managed it, controlled it. "Late again tonight," Lily said one evening, slipping on her heels near the door. "Client dinner." Ethan looked up from his laptop. "Which client?" She didn't miss a beat. "Westbridge Group." Ethan nodded. "Sounds important." "It is," she said, offering a small smile. "Don't wait up." The door closed behind her. Ethan didn't move for a moment. Then, he reached for his phone. He wasn't guessing anymore. He was verifying. At first, it felt wrong. Not because of what he was doing, but because of what it meant. Ethan had always believed in trust, in honesty, in building something real without needing to look over his shoulder. But that version of him, the one who believed love was enough, didn't exist anymore. The records were easy to access. Call logs, shared accounts, digital traces people forgot they left behind. Ryan's number appeared more often than Lily would ever admit. Late at night, early in the morning, short calls, long calls, a pattern, consistent, deliberate. Ethan leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. Not surprised, just confirmed. A week later, he followed her again. This time, there was no hesitation, no internal debate. The same black sedan, the same quiet confidence in her movements, the same destination, the hotel. Ethan didn't go inside. He didn't need to. Not anymore. Instead, he sat in his car across the street, watching the entrance with steady eyes. He saw them, Lily and Ryan, closer than before, more comfortable, less careful. It wasn't just physical. That much was obvious now. It was something deeper, something that had grown while Ethan was still trying to save what they had. He didn't feel the sharp pain this time. No surge of anger, no desperate urge to confront. Just distance. Ethan started the car and drove away. That night, when Lily came home, she looked the same as always. Composed, untouched. "How was your evening?" Ethan asked. "Long," she replied, slipping off her shoes. "I'm exhausted." He nodded. "You should get some rest." She smiled faintly. "I will." They moved around each other like strangers, sharing a space neither of them fully belonged to anymore. But something else was happening. Quietly, carefully. Ethan began to rebuild. At work, he stopped coasting. The projects he had once approached with routine precision now became something more strategic. He took on new responsibilities, spoke up in meetings, positioned himself differently. His manager noticed. Then upper management. Opportunities followed. Outside of work, Ethan changed too. Not dramatically, not in ways Lily would immediately question, but enough. He started going to the gym again, reconnected with old colleagues, even accepted invitations he would have once declined. Piece by piece, he was reclaiming something he hadn't realized he had lost. Control. And all the while, he kept watching, saving messages, documenting inconsistencies, not just the affair, but everything surrounding it. Lily's work, her connections, the subtle overlaps between her professional life and whatever she had with Ryan. It wasn't just personal anymore. It was structural. One evening, Ethan sat alone in the living room, reviewing everything he had gathered. Messages, dates, patterns. It was all there. Clear. Undeniable. But what struck him most wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how easily Lily had adapted, how confidently she had continued, how completely she had believed that he would never do anything about it. Ethan closed his laptop slowly. For the first time since everything began, he wasn't thinking about saving the marriage. He wasn't even thinking about Lily. He was thinking about what came next. And for the first time, the idea didn't feel overwhelming. It felt inevitable. Ethan stood, walking toward the window. The city stretched out before him, lights flickering against the night, endless movement beneath a calm surface. He saw it clearly now. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about power. And for too long, he had given his away. Behind him, the front door opened. Lily stepped inside, her heels echoing softly against the floor. "Hey," she said. "You're still up?" Ethan turned, his expression calm. "Yeah." She studied him for a moment. There was something different, subtle, but unmistakable. "You've been busy lately," she said. "Just work," Ethan replied. She nodded slowly, but her eyes lingered on him just a second longer than usual. as if sensing something she couldn't quite name.
"Good," she said finally. "You needed that."
Ethan held her gaze, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips.
"Yeah," he said quietly. "I did."
And for the first time, Lily wasn't entirely sure what that meant. The ballroom shimmered under layers of soft, golden light. Crystal chandeliers hung overhead, casting fractured reflections across polished glass tables and designer dresses. The low hum of conversation blended with the faint clink of champagne flutes, creating an atmosphere that felt both elegant and carefully controlled. This was Lily's world, or at least the version of it she had built.
The annual Westbridge Marketing Summit was one of the most anticipated industry events of the year. Executives, investors, and rising talents gathered under one roof, networking, negotiating, performing. Reputations were made here and destroyed.
Lily stood near the center of it all, confident, radiant, untouchable.
Her black evening gown was flawless, tailored to perfection, her posture straight, her smile effortless. She moved through the crowd with practiced ease, greeting familiar faces, exchanging polite laughter, maintaining the image she had spent years crafting. Professional, successful, in control.
Ryan stood just a few feet away, close enough to be noticed, far enough to remain discreet.
Their eyes met occasionally, subtle, quick, but enough.
To anyone else, it was nothing. To Ethan, it was everything. He stood near the back of the room, watching, unnoticed, unassuming, exactly where he needed to be. Ethan Caldwell had never belonged in rooms like this. Not in the way Lily did. He wasn't loud, he didn't perform, he didn't chase attention. But tonight, he didn't need to, because he wasn't here to be seen. He was here to make sure the truth was.
The past few weeks had been quiet, strategic.
Every piece of information he had gathered, every message, every call log, every overlap between Lily and Ryan's professional dealings had been carefully organized, verified, connected.
It wasn't just an affair. It was a conflict of interest, undisclosed collaborations, client manipulation, decisions influenced by something far more personal than professional judgment.
In their world. That was unforgivable.
Ethan had considered his options: private confrontation, legal action, walking away.
But none of them felt complete, because Lily had never hidden what she thought of him. Weak, predictable, someone who would endure, someone who wouldn't act. Tonight, he would prove her wrong.
The host stepped onto the stage, tapping the microphone lightly.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention. The room gradually quieted. Conversations softened. All eyes turned forward.
We're honored tonight to recognize one of the most innovative minds in modern marketing, the host continued. Someone whose work has reshaped client engagement strategies across multiple industries. A pause. A smile. Please join me in welcoming Lily Caldwell.
Applause filled the room. Warm, enthusiastic. And Lily stepped forward gracefully, her expression composed, her confidence unwavering. This was her moment. Ethan watched her walk onto the stage, watched the way she carried herself, watched the way the room responded to her. For a brief second, he remembered who she used to be. Then he remembered everything else. Lily reached the podium, adjusting the microphone slightly. "Thank you," she began, her voice smooth, controlled. "It's an honor to be here tonight."
Actually,
The voice cut through the room, calm, clear, unfamiliar to most, but not to her. Lily froze. Ethan stepped forward.
at first, people didn't react, didn't understand, didn't recognize the shift.
But Lily did. Her eyes locked onto his, and for the first time in weeks, There was no confidence, no control.
Just uncertainty.
"Ethan?" she said, her voice barely audible. A ripple of confusion moved through the crowd. Whispers, glances. Ethan didn't rush, didn't raise his voice. He simply walked forward, each step measured, deliberate, until he stood just below the stage. "I think there's something everyone here deserves to know," he said. The room stilled. "Ethan, what are you doing?" Lily's tone sharpened, a hint of panic breaking through. He looked up at her. Not angry, not emotional. "Certain. Finishing the story," he replied. A screen behind the stage flickered. At first, no one noticed. Then, images appeared. Text messages, call logs, dates, patterns. The room shifted. "What is this?" someone murmured. Lily's face drained of color. "Turn that off," she said quickly, her composure cracking. This isn't relevant." Ethan didn't move. "Those are your messages," he said calmly. "Between you and Ryan." All eyes turned. "Ryan?" He stood frozen in the crowd, his expression tightening as attention shifted toward him. "It's not what it looks like," Lily said quickly, her voice rising. "This is being taken out of context." "Is it?" Ethan asked. Another image appeared. Emails, internal documents, client decisions signed off under Lily's name, directly tied to projects Ryan had benefited from. A conflict. Clear. Documented. The murmurs grew louder. "This suggests undisclosed collaboration," a voice from the crowd said. "That's a violation of policy." "No," Lily said, shaking her head, her voice cracking now. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Ethan said. He stepped closer to the stage. "You told me he was just a friend." The words echoed. Not loud, but devastating. "And maybe at some point that was true," Ethan continued. But somewhere along the way, that line disappeared. Lily's breathing became uneven, her control gone. "This is personal," she said desperately. "You're doing this because you're hurt." "No," Ethan said. And for the first time, there was something in his voice. Not anger, not pain. Finality. "I gave you a choice," he said. "You made it." Silence fell. Complete. Unforgiving. Ryan stepped back. Then another step. Distance. Self-preservation. He wasn't standing with her anymore. Lily saw it, felt it, and something inside her began to collapse. "This isn't fair," she whispered. Ethan looked at her one last time. "It's the truth." And in that moment, everything she had built, her image, her career, her control, began to fall apart. The silence after the revelation didn't break all at once. It fractured. In whispers, in glances, in the subtle but unmistakable shift of distance. Lily stood frozen on the stage, the light now too harsh, too exposing. Just minutes ago, it had been her spotlight, warm, validating, affirming everything she had worked for. Now, it felt like interrogation. Voices began to rise from the crowd, low at first, then sharper, more defined. "Is this real? Those documents, that's a serious violation." The applause that had once filled the room was gone, replaced by scrutiny, judgment, calculation. Lily's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the edge of the podium. "This is being misrepresented," she said, forcing her voice to hold. "There are explanations for all of this." But even as she spoke, she could feel it. No one was listening the same way anymore, because doubt had already taken root. And in a room like this, doubt was enough. She looked down at Ethan. For a fleeting moment, something in her eyes changed. Not arrogance, not defiance, fear. But Ethan didn't move, didn't speak. He had already said everything that needed to be said. Behind her, the screen still glowed with evidence she could no longer deny. In front of her, the room she once commanded had turned into something else entirely. A courtroom, and she was losing. Ryan was gone. She noticed it only when she searched the crowd again,
The space where he had been standing, empty.
Of course.
The realization hit slowly, then all at once.
He hadn't defended her, hadn't spoken, hadn't even stayed.
For all the risks she had taken, all the lines she had crossed, he walked away the moment it mattered. Just like that.
The host stepped forward, his expression tight, professional. "I think we're going to take a short break," he said into the microphone, his voice carefully controlled. "We'll resume shortly." But everyone knew there would be no resuming. The event was over, at least for her. Lily stepped back from the podium. The room no longer felt like hers. Every step she took off that stage felt heavier than the last.
No one stopped her. No one comforted her.
They just watched, and that was worse. Outside, the night air hit her like a shock. Cold, unforgiving, real. She didn't remember how she got home, only that when she opened the apartment door, everything felt smaller, quieter,
Emptier.
Ethan was already there. He stood by the window, just like before, looking out at the city. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then,
"Why?" Lily asked. Her voice was different now. No sharp edges, no control.
just something raw. Ethan didn't turn around immediately. "Why what?" he asked. "Why did you do it like that?" she said, her voice trembling. "In front of everyone."
Ethan finally turned, his expression calm, unreadable.
"I gave you a choice," he said. The words landed softly, but they carried everything. Lily's eyes filled. "I didn't think you would." "I know," Ethan interrupted. Silence. "I thought you would stay," she admitted. There it was. The truth she had never said out loud. Ethan nodded slightly. "I know." Tears slipped down her cheeks now, uncontrolled, unfiltered.
"It wasn't supposed to go this far," she said. "I didn't mean to."
"To what?" Ethan asked quietly. "Lose everything?" She flinched.
"I made a mistake,"
she whispered. Ethan held her gaze. "A mistake is something you regret immediately," he said. "Something you try to fix." He stepped closer. "What you did, you defended." Lily shook her head, her breathing uneven. "I didn't realize." "No," Ethan said softly. "You just didn't think there would be consequences."
That broke something in her. Completely.
"I was wrong," she said, her voice cracking. "I was selfish. I thought I could control it." Ethan didn't respond. "I ended it," she added quickly. "After tonight, I swear, It doesn't matter," Ethan said. The finality in his voice made her stop. "What?" she whispered. Ethan looked at her. Not with anger, not with pain, but with something far more distant. "Even if you had ended it before tonight," he said, "it wouldn't change what you chose when it mattered." Lily's knees felt weak. "I can fix this," she said desperately. "We can fix this. Please, Ethan, don't let everything we had just—" "Everything we had," Ethan said quietly, "ended long before tonight." The words settled between them, heavy, unavoidable. "I was still there," he continued, "still trying, still choosing us." A pause. "You stopped a long time ago." Lily covered her mouth, sobbing now. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." And this time, she meant it. Ethan could see it, in the way her voice broke, in the way she couldn't even meet his eyes anymore. But it came too late. "I believe you," he said. She looked up, hope flickering weakly. "You do?" Ethan nodded. "I believe you're sorry. A beat. But that doesn't mean I'm staying." The hope in her eyes shattered. "No," she whispered. Ethan stepped back, the distance between them returning. Final. "I loved you," he said. "And I tried." Lily reached for him, but stopped halfway, because something in his expression told her there was nothing left to hold on to. "You didn't lose me tonight," Ethan said softly. "You lost me the moment you decided I wasn't enough. And then stayed anyway." Silence filled the room. Ethan picked up his coat his keys.
Every movement calm.
Certain.
Where are you going?
Lily asked, her voice barely holding together. Ethan paused at the door. Then he looked back at her. One last time.
Somewhere I'm not an option, he said.
And then he walked out.
The door closed behind him.
Soft. Quiet. Final. Lily stood there alone. The weight of everything pressing down all at once. The career she had built. Gone. The man she had risked everything for. Gone. The husband who had once loved her without question. Gone.
And for the first time,
There was no one left to blame. Only herself.
she sank to the floor, the silence of the apartment swallowing her whole. Because this time,
There was no manipulation left. No denial. No escape.
just the truth and the consequences she could no longer outrun.